All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Nice. I think that we need some more coffee, but that's, for the tea break. But um, I'm very glad that we are able to meet as a SIF community second year in a row in London. And this is all, possible because of IBM and Canonical coming together and making this happen. So a big round of applause for our sponsors. So, my name is Neha Oja, and a quick intro about me. I work for IBM. I am an engineering manager. I lead the core Rados team, and I am also a member of the CEF Executive Council that is responsible for the CEF community's activities. So, today I'm going to be presenting the state of CEF, and the focus is going to be on the next upcoming release, Tentacle. Let's get started. So, where do we stand? So, we are at around 1,400 contributors in GitHub across time, and I think it's a very good number and keeps growing. So, that's the credit goes to all of you for being part of the community and contributing to the project. So, thank you. In terms of lines of code, we are at 700K and plus. It's increasing as we speak. And we are at 150K overall commits. And that includes source code, QA, and documentation. So in terms of release schedule, we are almost ready for our Tentacle release. We have done a dev freeze for it, and we're hoping to do RCs very soon. And we should expect a release sometime in the second half of this year. But in terms of our policy, we support N-2, so we will be supporting Squid and Reef upgrades to Tentacle. All right, so project milestones, we all love our events, and we had a very, very successful Cephalacon last year. I believe some of you were able to attend, and some of you are wearing that wonderful T-shirt that we made. And talking of T-shirts, a huge round of applause for Tony for creating this T-shirt. I am sure everybody has gotten their Ceph Day T-shirt, right? Yeah? Perfect. Okay. So it takes a lot of work to get those T-shirts printed and design sorted out. So it's we don't take it for granted, Tony. Another country. Especially from other country. But you know the drill now, right? So now it's going to be get easier and easier. Anyway, so coming back, so in terms of our storage footprint, just in telemetry, we are at 1.8 exabyte, and this number continues to grow, day by day. Again, talking of telemetry, I would really urge everybody to opt into it because it gives us and even you a lot of value, and we'll talk about it later in the slides. Squid was our last GA release, which is still going strong, and we are hoping to also make Tentacle as strong as Squid was. In terms of community engagement, there are various ways in which you can become part of the community. We have a Slack, very active Slack going on. We also have a meetup group now, which is hosting all of our dev summits and our user dev meetings. And so, in fact, we have a CDM coming up today or tomorrow. So be part of that, and you'll get active updates about events on your email. And finally, there is an initiative called Ceph User Council, which is also kind of aligned with the Ceph User Dev meeting. The idea is that we've been doing surveys in the community to capture feedback from production users of Ceph, particularly in the areas of performance and usability, so that we can improve the future releases of Ceph and incorporate some of those feedback that we get in our roadmap. So look out for some of the surveys that are coming up, and we also have active discussion in the user dev meetings from on the feedback that we get in those surveys. And finally, we continue to engage in Google Summer of Code and Grace Hopper, like we've been doing for multiple years now. Talking of new records, we have some wonderful work that Mark Nelson, our performance lead, has done, and I'm very happy to announce that in upstream Ceph we have reached a milestone of 1 terabytes per second in some of the testing that he did with the Squid release. This is excellent work, and we hope to continue to do that for our Tentacle release as well. In terms of community updates, for those of you who don't know, we have a CEF Foundation. That's the governing body for the CEF Upstream project. And we have a new foundation structure right now, which has enabled us to encourage more events and invest more into our lab and hardware and things like that. So we have some of our diamond members are Bloomberg, IBM, and 45 Drives. And we also have DigitalOcean, who joined us recently as a silver member. Highly encourage community members who have the ability to fund the project to join the foundation. We also have a new community manager, and this is the first time we are making an announcement about this. You may have heard this name in Slack, Anthony Middleton. The CEF Foundation continues to fund DocWriter, and now we are also funding the community manager. So I'm excited to see him grow the community even further. In terms of events, we all love our events. We've been doing a bunch of them. We had CEF days all around the world, starting from India, Silicon Valley. That was the first time we did an event in the IBM facility, the IBM research office in San Jose. We had just one in May in Seattle. And there's, of course, CEF Day London happening today. And there's more to come. There is the one happening in Berlin, and that's going to be a longer format. It's a 2-day event. So if you're in the area, feel free to start planning ahead. And there's also going to be a CEF Day in New York. We are yet to decide the dates. Now, if that was not enough, there is more. Ta-da! We have CEFLACON 2025 happening. Yeah, shout out for CEFLACON. Or maybe for Canada, Vancouver. Anybody from Canada, Vancouver? No? Okay, it's okay. That's not a problem. But yeah, we are going to meet in October in 2025. There are more updates that are going to come up in our website very soon, but start planning ahead. All right, now let's come to real business. Technical focus areas for the project continue to be these 4 pillars. Essentially, we are focusing on consistent performance at scale. Usability has been the core of all the work we've been doing in every component. We are expanding the protocol support and use cases that we have been doing for CEF even more. I'll talk about it a little bit later in the slides. And finally, TCO, storage efficiency, is one of the key areas that you'll see improvements across the stack, be it core, be it the separate applications like RGW, RBD, etc. So you'll hear a lot of improvements from the Tentacle release, focusing on these 4 major areas. What's coming in Tentacle? Let's get started. So Rados, the focus in Tentacle has been around erasure coding. The main idea is to improve performance for block and file, while object will also benefit from the tons of work that most of the UK team has been doing in the Tentacle release. I'm not going to go into the details because there's a talk by Bill and Alex about it, and they will delve deeper into exactly what's happened and what's changed around erasure coding in Rados. Apart from that, we have improved OMAP listing performance in Tentacle, and that's thanks to some of our users who actually reported bottlenecks in OMAP listing performance, and we acted on it, and we made tons of improvements, and some of them will be backported so as to make it available sooner. Simplicity is important, so we have some simple knobs around scrubbing that have been added, and something that's new in Tentacle and almost a tech preview feature, and we would love for users to give us feedback around it, is the availability score. So there's always been a way to see CEF status, but there's never been a way to see the availability of CEF over time. So this is our attempt to make that happen, and we expect to fine-tune this feature in future releases based on the kind of feedback we get. And there's, as everybody knows, that CEF has support for stretch clusters. Now there is ability to unstretch a cluster. So if you have a 2-site stretch cluster with a tiebreaker and you want to unstretch it for whatever reason, earlier you weren't able to do that easily, and now we have a simple way to do it. And finally, there is also health alerts for net splits. So this is, I think, a key feature that we added, which will be useful for our users. Essentially, when net split happens, there's no easy way to figure that out other than diagnosing slow ops and things like that. So this will alert you when there is net split in your cluster. Improvements in BlueStore as well. the TCO story continues for Blue Store. There's going to be tons of improvements in the compression area, particularly making it more tunable so that you can get better storage efficiency at the cost of CPU. And we have other performance items in the allocator area as well, and more visibility into things like fragmentation, which were harder to predict or understand, earlier. Crimson. So Crimson, for those of you who don't know, that's the next generation OSD with the backend object store, which is going to be C-Store. We did a tech preview of block workloads for Crimson with the Blue Store as a backend in Squid. But we have enhanced Crimson even further based on some of the initial feedback we got around usability. It was harder to configure Crimson OSD because it has some tunings that it relies on. So we made much better out-of-the-box experience for Crimson in Tentacle. We continue to work on feature work like PG splitting, EC support, and QoS in Tentacle. As far as C-Store is concerned, lots of performance improvements in the area, but the key thing is that we want to fill feature gaps as well. So things like clone range support and are getting added in Tentacle. All right, let's talk about object. So tons of improvements here as well, particularly adding S3 API support for additional checksums and get attributes. We already had a D3N data cache. Now we have D4N MVP, which is essentially going to be for better performance. But here, the key thing to call out is that work is in collaboration with Massachusetts Open Cloud, Boston University, and Northeastern University. So I like it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's important to highlight the community involvement from universities as well, because as most of you probably know, Ceph was born in a university, and now we are an enterprise product. Moving on, we have improved performance with bucket index sharding. So there's going to be helping with things like listing again. OMAP performance is going to be better. There's further improvements in multi-site area. Tons of things going on in terms of new stuff. S3 inventory support has been added. Deduplication for large objects, that's a net new thing that's going to be added in terms of an offline tool that users will be able to run and figure out how dedupable their data is and then take action based on that. All right, let's talk about block. The major focus in the block area has been around disaster recovery. So snapshot-based mirroring existed always, since few releases, but consistency group support wasn't there. So we've added that in the Tentacle release. There is further improvements in the live migration area. And in terms of kernel client support, we added an upmap read balancer support and crush MSR rule in the Squid release, but they are going to get supported in the kernel with Tentacle. NVMeOF, I think I'm going to leave this one out as well because Aviv is going to do what's new in NVMeOF talk later in the day. But the idea is that NVMeOF support went GA in Squid, and there's a lot of scalability and performance work that's getting done in Tentacle. With CephFS, there's a bunch of stabilization work going on for FS script and improved support for NFS and SMB integration. But there's this interesting piece of work around case-insensitive directory trees for interoperability with Samba. And that's another talk that's going to be at the end of the day today. I think Sachin is going to keep you all awake with his stuff towards the end of the day. All right, dashboard. We continue to make things easy to use and add more and more support for day one, day two operations in the dashboard. There's also going to be another talk about it. But the idea is that things like multi-cluster management, which were not available in Ceph, are now going to be available. And there's going to be improved monitoring around a lot of things that were available in the CLI, but not in the dashboard going forward in the Tentacle release. Ceph ADM, I have been hearing very good feedback about Ceph ADM recently, and we've made upgrade experiences and things like that much better. We continue to invest in adding support for the newer use cases like SMB and multi-arc image support in Ceph ADM, and particularly also for things like automated certificate management. This is something that the user community really wanted, and we added that support in Ceph ADM. There are lots of other things going on, so the slides are going to be updated. So feel free to take a look and ask questions if you have in the community forums. If you are a Rook user, there's more stuff for you as well. Mirroring of Rails namespaces is now available. And the second one is also a very interesting feature is that you are now able to migrate OSDs to enable encryption as a day two operation. So you don't need to do a redeployment per se. There's more work in the CSI area, if that's interesting to you. There's mirroring of volume groups and space-efficient replication of clone volumes, and lots of other things that are going on. And Neil DeVolz is the guy to reach out to if you have questions about any of this. Like I said, we love telemetry for all good reasons. We've been getting a lot of valuable feedback from the clusters that have opted into telemetry. We've made some key decisions based on the data we've been getting. We have been able to also track down multiple bugs because telemetry also allows you to open trackers for bugs that have crashes. So with that, we've also added support to let us know how many users are using stretch clusters in the community and things like multi-site so that we can invest in the right areas and improve those. And like I said, a lot of the metrics that we get are also getting improved, including things like more performance counters around scrubbing. And this is essentially because we want to optimize some of our quality of service parameters and things like that, but we don't have the data to do that from actual clusters. We do that in our test clusters. So this is going to hopefully help us do that better. Finally, like I said, Ceph Foundation continues to invest in documentation, and Zach Doer is the person who's our docs guy. The new thing that we added recently was a Ceph Quarterly that goes out to the mailing list. So if you're interested in updates that don't need to wait for a Ceph Day or CephLaCon, look out for the Quarterly and you'll be able to understand what's going on in the community. And finally, I guess we always want to improve our developer experience and productivity. So we're improving some of the CI and tautology projects as well. And things like our builds are the main focus area at this point so that we can reduce the amount of time people have to wait for their builds to be ready to start their testing. So there are tons of improvements that you can read. I won't go to the details. Performance is important, and so is performance benchmarking. And for those of you who don't know, CBT stands for Ceph Benchmarking Tool. It's a separate project under the Ceph repo, and it has recently got a lot of attention because we've been doing a bunch of benchmarking for the erasure coding performance improvements. Lee Sanders is going to present a talk about exactly what has happened and how we have improved things and what the future looks like for this tool. All right, I think with that, I am towards the end of this talk. If you have any questions, feel free to grab me while we have the coffee break or reach out to me. And thank you very much for listening.